In the battlefield south of Vodian in Donetsk Oblast, drone operators from the Ukrainian National Guard's Kara-Dag Brigade executed a precision strike against Russian drone operators. Forbes reports. The Ukrainian team specifically targeted Russians deploying advanced fiber optic drones, technology designed to circumvent Ukraine's electronic warfare systems. These specialized drones transmit signals via thin wires rather than radio frequencies, making them resistant to jamming. Spotting the reflection of fiber optic cables, the Kara-Dag Brigade operators followed the sunlight reflecting fibers back to the Russian team's hidden base in a clutch of snow-covered buildings and struck the hapless Russian operators with explosive FPV drones. War correspondent David Axe details. The battlefield success demonstrates Ukraine's continued capacity for effective resistance through technological advantage, particularly in unmanned systems, even as the diplomatic landscape shifts. The operation occurred as US and Russian diplomats met in Riyadh to discuss potential paths towards ending the war, notably without Ukrainian representation. The timing underscores Ukraine's determination to continue resistance regardless of diplomatic developments. Ukraine has fewer troops and less artillery than Russia, but it has more and better drones, many of which are made in Ukraine and paid for with Ukrainian and European funds, Axe notes. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pivoted towards strengthening European alliances, meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and French President Emmanuel Macron to secure continued support. As Axe concludes, the tactical drone victory carries a strategic message. America may choose to bow to Russia, but Ukraine doesn't have to. As Trump led his party, his administration and the country he governs into Russia's authoritarian embrace, Zelensky immediately pivoted, meeting or calling Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and French President Emmanuel Macron to firm up European support for a continuing Ukrainian war effort. Meanwhile, a German official has hinted at a possible $730 billion European aid deal that, if enacted in the coming months, could radically transform Ukraine's military and sustain Ukrainian resistance for years. All that is to say, Ukraine can keep fighting regardless of what Trump says, and that Ukrainian drone patrol near Vodian demonstrated this enduring capacity for resistance. Forbes says that Ukraine has fewer troops and less artillery than Russia, but it has more and better drones, many of which are made in Ukraine and paid for with Ukrainian and European funds.
Ukrainian air defenses were at work over central Kyiv late Thursday after Russia launched a drone attack. According to Associated Press, around 2130 local time, 1930 GMT, an air alarm sounded across the Ukrainian capital, shortly followed by the sounds of gunfire as air defenses tried to bring down the drone flying overhead. Footage captured by a mobile phone showed the sky lighting up in bursts as explosions rang out. Then the drone, untouched, flew through the air and on to another location. Attacks on the capital and across Ukraine are a regular part of everyday life for those who live in the country as it prepares to mark the third anniversary of Russia's invasion, which falls on Monday, February 24th. A news conference that was planned to follow talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and U.S. President Donald Trump's Ukraine envoy was cancelled Thursday as political tensions deepened between the two countries over how to end the almost three-year war with Russia. According to Associated Press, the event was originally supposed to include comments to the media by Zelensky and retired U.S. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, but it was changed at the last minute to a simple photo opportunity where the two posed for journalists. They did not deliver statements or field questions as expected. The change was requested by the U.S. side, Ukrainian presidential spokesman Serhiy Nikiforov said. Kellogg's trip to Kyiv coincided with recent feuding between Trump and Zelensky that has bruised their personal relations and cast further doubt on the future of U.S. support for Ukraine's war effort. Dozens of journalists gathered at Ukraine's presidential office in Kyiv after being invited to take photos and observe a news conference with Zelensky and Kellogg. As the meeting began, photographers and video journalists were allowed into a room where the two men shook hands before sitting across from each other at a table. Journalists were then informed that there would be no news conference with remarks by the leaders or questions from reporters. Nikiforov gave no reason for the sudden change except to say that it was in accordance with U.S. wishes. The U.S. delegation made no immediate comment. The White House did not immediately respond to questions about why the news conference was called off. The two men were due to speak about Trump's efforts to end the war. Zelensky had previously said he looked forward to explaining what was happening in Ukraine and showing it to Kellogg. Kellogg, one of the architects of a staunchly conservative policy book laying out an America First national security agenda, has long been Trump's top advisor on defense issues. Writing on his Telegram channel, Zelensky said the meeting with Kellogg was a good conversation, lots of details. He said they discussed security guarantees for Ukraine and the return of Ukrainian prisoners from Russian custody. We can and must make peace reliable and lasting so that Russia can never return with war again, he wrote. Ukraine is ready for a strong, truly beneficial agreement with the President of the United States on investments and security.
No, I don't know. I didn't know. Thanks so much.